Welcome back. You're watching the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Asghar Sheraliyev, and these are the top stories. Around 20 people have retracted their claims against defendants on charges of Zhanozyan violence. At the same time, the local administration and VTA bank branch are asking for millions in compensation for damages. The court decided to summon the former Zhanozyan mayor for questioning. The court has further extended the detention of Alga party leader Vladimir Kozlov by a month. The politician's petition to attend the trial has failed to reach the judge. Internet users are actively discussing President Obama's words said during the meeting with Nursultan Nazarbayev. A number of local news agencies quote the supposed praise Obama addressed to Nazarbayev in relation to the stabilization of the situation in Zhanozyan. However, Obama's original speech lacked the quote in question. The trial of Zhanozyan violence will be attended by the former mayor of the town, Orak Sarpoyev. Yesterday, Judge Aralbay Nagashbayev agreed with arguments of defense lawyers and approved Sarpoyev's involvement as witness. Many of the trial victims retract their claims against the defendants. In particular, owners of the yurts burnt at the square are now placed blame on the town official. Around 20 claims have been retracted so far.
Orak Sarbapev should be in the courtroom as well. It looks like statements of the plaintiffs have convinced the judge, who took in the defense lawyers' reasoning. Most of plaintiffs withdrew their claims, saying they hold no grudge against the 37 defendants. One complainant said he does not need a compensation for a burnt bus, while another for a vandalized and burnt cafe. Most plaintiffs are the owners of yurts that were burnt at the square in December. We hold no grudge against these guys. They did not set our yurts on fire. They are not guilty. These guys are not to be blamed. That's why I withdrew my claim. This attitude of the complainants, their willingness not to blame the defendants, came as a good news for Aktau residents who are demanding justice from the start of the hearings. Jaksugul Bekturganova has shared her view on the last 3 days of the trial. All the plaintiffs say that Sarbopev had promised to pay 2 million for each yurt if something was to happen. This means he is to be held accountable. He did know something. The unrest was started by security officials, not by these oil field workers. They wanted to damage Nazarbayev's reputation. The defense lawyers criticize the prosecutor for his actions. They say the state prosecuting officials take advantage of complainants' lack of legal knowledge. For instance, those who withdrew their complaints are strongly reminded by the prosecuting officials that if they won't request compensation from the 37 defendants, no one is going to reimburse their losses, say the defense lawyer Venera Sambinova. This is plain wrong. These people have Orak Sabapev's warranties, which can be used in the administrative court. But prosecution representatives say that it's not the case. Once again, the regional court upset the reporters, not allowing the filming of the high-profile hearing. The authorities are still trying to create an illusion of transparency, though. An 84-year-old veteran was brought to a room where an Astana MP held a briefing on transparency of the trial. Everything is fair and just, it is well organized. I have my face in a fair verdict. Ozan Munaygas company has estimated the damage it sustained at over $8 million, although the official representative of the company said this is not the final figure. In addition, it was said that 18 of the defendants were Ozan Munaygas employees. Zhanozyan Rural Administration has estimated the damage it sustained at over $1.5 million, while BTA Bank's damage is estimated at around $400,000.
Defendants' families expressed their gratitude to those who've retracted their claims. Zhanozyan resident Dina Timurova took a leave to attend the hearing since her son-in-law is one of the accused. Timurova believes all 37 defendants are innocent and the trial is unfair.
My first impression is that pressure is exerted on the defending side, which has to keep objective stance, because everything is being recorded by media. Objective questions should be asked, but I think that the judge is pressuring the defending side, and I don't feel such pressure on the prosecutor. Meanwhile, international observers have made their appearance at the Aktau trial. The civil justice platform's representatives, made up of 37 international organizations from CIS countries, Europe and the USA, are keeping their eye on the investigation course. Currently, there are 4 mission representatives in Aktau from Poland, Norwegian and Ukrainian branches of the Helsinki Committee, as well as from the Kazakhstan Human Rights and Justice Bureau. Local human rights defenders and lawyers are also part of the mission. They have outlined the following objectives for their visit. We have to make sure that the fair trial standards are being followed during the process. Possibly in the future the local platform lawyers will take over and keep track of the case, and we will be studying the information presented by them. Based on this information, we will draw up a report which will be published in many sources. We'll make it international and of course send it to Kazakhstan. We will try to make the report public.
Pavlodar policemen who were sent to Zhanaozen as reinforcement after the December events are still yet to be paid promised per diems and bonuses. The situation is described in a message sent to Internal Affairs Minister Kalmuhammed Kasimov's blog.
Why the Pavlodar Internal Affairs officers who were sent to Zhanaozen did not get promised bonus payments and per diems? They put their lives at risk trying to bring order to our country. It has been 2 months since their return, but they only get promises still. I request you to clarify the situation. Thank you in advance. The author of the message did not leave any contact information, which makes it impossible to reach her. We tried to find out from the DIA whether the officers indeed received no compensation for the duty trip to Mangistau region. However, the journalist's calls were never returned. Nevertheless, the police information sources unveiled that bonus and per diem payments for the trip to Zhanaozen are not listed under expenditures of the Pavlodar's DIA. The money should have come from the regional or state budget. Mass disorders in Zhanaozen resulted in drawing the internal military and security forces from all over Kazakhstan. According to the official data, policemen from 10 regions of country were sent to western Kazakhstan during the state of emergency.
Some of the media trying to use the Zhanaozen trial to call for a revolution, said Yermuhamed Yirtizbayev, Kazakh president's political advisor, in a recent Interfax interview. Yesterday, Yirtizbayev elaborated on his idea and said he meant specifically Stan.kz video portal.
Just the day before the trial over Zhanaozen events, the Supreme Court assured the public that the case will receive the most transparent and impartial treatment. However, after the journalists were banned from using electronic devices even in the press room, official representative Oksana Peters rushed to make an announcement in an Interfax interview where she said that her Aktau colleagues were right in their actions. The head of the journalist club and former deputy Gadilbek Shalahmetov doesn't seem to support this position. At the same time, Shalahmetov has his own understanding of the freedom of speech concept, dividing the media since some of them are dancing to the tune of their paymasters. For instance, he wished the staff of the video portal Stan.kz to be more conscientious and wiser. Everything should be done according to the law, and if the law calls for it, mass media should be there to cover it. But I'm not making the statement for those who decide whether to let the press in or not. I'm now calling on the media with an appeal for them to be smarter. Another advocate of the ban on recordings at the Zhanaozen trial is the president's advisor himself. Yermuhamed Yirtizbayev said the day before yesterday that certain mass media are taking the advantage of the situation in order to organize a revolution. There are some mass media in our country that model people's minds, want to use people and bring them to the streets. However, what they are really after is not information but mental preparation for a revolt. The president's political advisor specified during a recent telephone interview which mass media he was talking about. Taking into account his earlier statements regarding information terrorists, there can be no doubt of his verdict. Well, it is you, of course, Stan TV. Media experts condemned the decision of the court, saying it is biased and groundless to limit the journalists' access in covering one of the most topical and controversial trials ever. The head of the Adilsos Public Foundation, Tamara Kaleva, claims that should any media distort the information, they would be held accountable a long time, and that is why the real deal is that the authorities indeed don't want the wide publicity of the issue, keeping some of the data out of the public eye. Mr. Yirtizbayev last year and this year was harshly expressing his views when characterizing the oppositional media. This is the opinion of the entire political elite of the country in general, which doesn't favor the fact that due to Vzгляд and Stan, the Kazakh society and the international community as a whole are informed about the real events. Meanwhile, Kazakh society notes that the prohibition to cover the court proceedings is alarming, and therefore the doubts on the fairness of the verdict are becoming stronger.
Yesterday, Bulat Abilov, a member of the Public Independent Commission reviewing the Zhanaozen violence, gave a press conference after returning from Western Kazakhstan. Abilov witnessed the beginning of the trial and talked to local residents. The politician believes that soon the authorities will step up the pressure against people who criticized officials for ignoring the oilman strike and later the shooting of innocent protesters.
The trial will be split into several parts. In the first part, the process will be over 37 convicts, 7 of whom were led by Saktaganov and Tuyetaeva, accused of organizing mass disorders. The next part will examine the case of Ayjan Gulamirova and Natalia Kazhaglieva, along with a number of other people who are also accused of instigating and leading violations through propaganda and dissemination of brochures ordered by Sirik Sapargali and Vladimir Kozlov. Of course, all of that will be eventually linked to Ablazov, who supposedly orchestrated everything from abroad.
Abilov also expressed his doubts regarding extremist plans of the president's administration's political opponents. Namely, Abilov questions terrorism accusations brought against Mukhtar Ablazov, his former security head Alexander Pavlov, and one of the leaders of the party Alga, Muratbek Kitibayev. This statement was distributed yesterday by the Khalik Maydani coalition.
We are the representatives of democratic forces of the country, and we regard statements of this kind as direct evidence for the beginning of yet another witch hunt. Khalik Maydani demands to stop this witch hunt immediately, stop the persecution of citizens for their political beliefs, and also stop the senseless and groundless falsification of information aimed against Nazarbayev's political opponents, while there is still time and opportunity for that. It is nonsense that they gave someone orders, especially in a family park. This is ridiculous. I'm sure that they will find people who say that Pavlov paid them $15,000 and promised another 10. The same with Kitibayev. Someone might claim he sent them an email with the order to organize a terrorist act. But this is ridiculous. I know Kitibayev for many years. He's from a very respected family and he worked as deputy minister, so I don't believe that he would organize a terrorist act in Almaty. Again, this is just ridiculous.
Last night, special service agents brought in several staff members of the oppositional Golos Respubliki newspaper for questioning, neglecting their right for a lawyer. Moreover, the publication's director, Danyar Moldashov, has vanished following his interrogation. Some sources say questioning and Moldashov's possible arrest are linked to the alleged terrorism case.
Danyar Moldashov, the director of the independent newspaper Golos Respubliki, disappeared after the night interrogation at the National Security Committee. This was reported by the publishing officers at yesterday's press conference in Almaty. In the morning, during a brief phone conversation with his lawyer, Moldashov said he was let go. After that, however, he never contacted anyone. Moldashov's family shared some details of the incident with the newspaper. Apparently, Danyar was brought home for no longer than a half an hour. He was allowed to pack a towel and a toothbrush and then taken to an undisclosed location. But Moldashov still managed to pass a message. Moldashov is accused of terrible things, and even though he is innocent, he was forced to defame himself as he was threatened with a search of his apartment where his elderly parents are living, as well as the well-being of his children. Moldashov asked to pass his apologies for the inability to resist the pressure of the investigators. The curtain of mystery was lifted by the regular informant for the Moscow branch of the Golos Respubliki known as Aman Shabdarbayev. He was the one to correctly predict the upcoming measures against the newspaper staff, says the publication's editor-in-chief Tatiana Trubachova. 4 of the Republic's employees have already been interrogated. The rest are kept under surveillance. Now the informant says that Moldashov was morally and physically coerced. At the moment, he is being kept at the NSC safe house, which is used as a secret jail. Moldashov is not allowed to make calls or talk to someone. He's not feeling well and he's depressed. This resulted in changing the pressure gear. He's now being persuaded into signing the early knock testimony against Vladimir Kozlov and Muratbek Kitibayev, which among other things states that he participated in illegal political financing and organizing terrorist operations under the lead and supervision of Kozlov and Kitibayev. The day before, almost at the same time as Moldashov, 2 more newspaper employees, journalist Irina Mednikova and the circulation manager Yulia Kozlova, were interrogated at the National Security Committee, although this was not enforced with any legal acts or orders. Mednikova and Kozlova were questioned for half a day with no possibility to retain a lawyer, but later were released. The employees are reluctant to disclose that was happening within the walls due to the engaging writ. They, however, attract the attention of the media and rights activists by implying human rights violation. That the rights are violated means that security officials feel they act illicitly. If you abide by the law, there is no need for illegal actions, is there? But evading the regulations means you have been in the cookie jar. This rule is tried and true, you know. For now, the only thing Golos Respublika staff know for sure is that the massive interrogations are somehow related to terrorism, the one of not information kind. The staff has chosen to go with the most familiar defense path, their publications.
Almaty City Court has extended Vladimir Kozlov's arrest by another month. The oppositional politician was first detained on January 23rd and charged with inciting social hatred.
Vladimir Kozlov was expected to attend the open hearing since he had previously submitted a petition to be brought before the judge. However, the judge Elmakhan Dildabekov stated that he had never received an application from the politician. Following the statements of the defense and the prosecution, the judge granted a request of Kazakh Security Service investigator Mr. Baldayarov, who insisted on extending the detention of Algas movement leader for another month. Aliya Trusbekova, the wife of the oppositionist, was not surprised with this outcome, since rejections have become a matter of routine for her already. The district court, for instance, did not give us any explanation on any materials or new documents that became grounds for extending the detention. The city court has provided detailed explanation on the nature of these materials and on the expertise that is still in progress, and that the results of the expert investigation will require further actions. A new charge against Kozlov is likely. The reasoning is that Kozlov can abscond during the trial and continue committing crimes, but the truth is he was never hiding from anyone. He just recently returned from Strasbourg and was far from any such idea.
Internet users are actively discussing US President Barack Obama's speech during his meeting with Kazakhstan's leader Nursultan Nazarbayev. A number of local news agencies quoted Obama as saying he is happy about the stabilization of the Zhanaozen situation, all due to Nazarbayev's efforts. The quote in question traces back to the website of Kazakh president's administration. However, the original speech of the US president uploaded to the official White House website lacks any mention of Zhanaozen.
What exactly the US president told to the president of Kazakhstan? The answer was heatedly debated on Facebook, where some users claim Obama's complimentary speech addressed to the leader of the nation actually never took place. Here is the quote in question, posted on various news agencies including Kastak and Tanger News. I also welcome the results of the past elections, which led to a multi-party parliament in Kazakhstan. I would like to emphasize that the situation in Zhanaozen has stabilized under your leadership. All of that shows once again that Kazakh people really trust their leader. However, the original video on the official website of the White House is quite different in content. One of the first to notice the translation discrepancy was politician Serikjan Mambetalin, who is currently in London. Through his Facebook page, he suggested that this is far from a lost in translation issue, but a deliberate misinterpretation of the US president's words by pro-Nazarbayev news agencies. Other internet users also left their own comments. Serikjan Mambetalin, I also listened to Obama's entire speech. He said nothing about multi-party parliament and not a word about Zhanaozen too. So Masimov's Tanger News yet again misinformed us. Maybe we should sue them for slander. Do we have any lawyers willing to sue Tanger News and President's Press Service for the words that Barack Obama never said? Maybe it's time to stop fooling people about the leader of the nation. Jasulan Khanaliyev, indeed, nothing was said, and I used to believe Tanger News. Abeke Sergeli, the same thing happened at the meeting with Catherine Ashton. Kazakenova Ashton's speech was completely mistranslated. Here is a comment from Anna Privalova, a professional translator and linguist, just to make sure no new translation gaffes are made. Obama's translator did a good job. I heard nothing about multi-party parliament and Zhanaozen. So the quote was never made, but is still reposted actively by official websites of the news agencies. But where did it come in the first place? The answer came from the distributors of false information. We took it from the site of the president's administration. That's our source. Indeed, the code can be found on Akarda's website, although it's suspiciously missing from the official side of the US president. Now it's like, analyze that.
The administration head of the Kazakhstan region, as well as local trade unions, major employers and business associations, have signed a regional agreement which reflects the entire scope of employment and social service issues. The key part of the agreement deals with wages that are considered too low by Kazakhmys and ArcelorMittal Temirtau employees.
The head of the regional administration had made it clear right away that the signed resolution must work and not become just a declarative agreement. We are well aware of all major issues in the region, including the situation over the wage rates of workers. The wage issue remains the most topical in the region. Workers of the two industrial giants are discontent with salary rates they're entitled to nowadays. While Kazakhmys had promised to meet workers' demands starting next month, the position of the company on this issue always was and will be that the business plan must be commercially rentable and profitable. Only then the company will be willing to raise the wages. However, the employees wasn't impressed by the outcome of the quarterly business plan, so the salary issue still remains subject for negotiations. In autumn last year, trade unions of 3 departments of the metallurgy giant have demanded 30% rise. All the major phases of talks over the issue are in the past, and the second round of negotiation is in progress now. But can metallurgy workers and miners really lay hope on a resolution signed today? There are certain mechanisms which, amongst others, bind this commission to engage in solving similar conflicts occurring at any other enterprises. The labor union leaders assured that the ArcelorMittal issue will be reviewed in the first session of the three-party commission, which is scheduled to be held in May this year.
The commission set up to calculate flood damages in southern Kazakhstan has published its initial findings. The total amount of damages is estimated at $8 million. These funds will be needed to rebuild houses, bridges and roads destroyed by the flood. In the meantime, dozens of organizations and individuals are taking part in the charity campaign launched in the region.
There are a lot of people compassionate to the countrymen's fate. Members of southern Kazakhstan mosque collected about $13,500 in just a couple of days. Religious authorities from the regional center brought more than 100 carpets, mattresses, blankets, as well as food to the collecting center. Prophet Muhammad once said that a true Muslim loves his people and his motherland. That's why we are to help each other in challenging times. Up to $6,700 are wired to charity accounts daily. 85 organizations have already transferred some funds. In addition to monetary support, the victims receive other aid as well. Flood relief fund in the South Kazakhstan region is growing day by day. I can say that around $125,000 have been transferred to the fund's account already. The comparative data shows that on average $6,700 arrived to the account daily. $13,500 were transferred yesterday alone. All aid has been sent from Shymkent to the center of Ardabasinsky district, the destroyed village of Temirlanovka. There, Despolotov's family lives in the tent for already a month. The tent is installed right in the yard. Local authorities support us and provide with food. We use everything that people send us. Thank you everybody who supported us. We don't blame anyone. It was a natural disaster. The house of Zhanar Typtybayeva is no longer safe, and the flood washed away her shed and a garage. The woman recalls how 4 years ago Temirlanovka was flooded with thawing water, which turned her house to ruins. The new house was built using government money, but didn't resist high water as well. These houses were built after the 2008 flood, with foundations only 50 centimeters deep. This year our house was flooded twice. That's how we suffer year by year. We want to sell everything and leave, but there are no buyers. We do not know what to do. Allegedly, this time compensations will be transferred directly to personal accounts of each person suffered from the flood, authorities say. Then villages will be free to decide how to allocate the money.
Members of Kazakhstan's parliament acted as psychologists during yesterday's open doors in the Astana branch of the ruling party Nur Otan. More than 100 people attended the event and shared their concerns with the MPs.
This is already the second open house organized by the ruling party this year. The first event back in January was attended by 106 people. Party members are sure that 65% of visitors found assistance in solving their problems. Most of the time people are concerned about housing issues. They say there are more chances to get help in closer interactions with officials because written statements are so often ignored and come in nowhere within the government agencies. Yesterday most visitors gathered around the table of MP Tatyana Yakovleva. The parliamentarian has been working with equity and mortgage holder statements for a long time now. She admits that at times it's even a simple talk is enough who want to be heard. I believe the psychological factor plays its role here too, because a person needs to be heard. I think our goal is to talk to a person in simple terms, hear him or her out and explain how to solve the problem if possible.
On March 29th, the Education Minister reminded his subordinates that data of the United National Testing for school graduates is considered a state secret. Four people responsible for leaking test results last year have been criminally charged already, and the minister hopes the situation will not repeat this year.
About 500 school graduates received record-breaking results of over 100 points each during the unified national test. Such unprecedented high rate raised suspicion and led to the investigation, which revealed that the stamped packages with test codes were opened beforehand. As a result of the fraud, students had to retake the test. Parties in fault, 4 civil servants were given sentences up to 5 years in prison. 2 national security officers as well as 2 employees of the Education Ministry were imprisoned on different terms. I believe this will serve a reminder for our current commission, so everyone keeps this in mind and don't violate the law.
This is all we have time for now. Join us tomorrow for more or follow our updates on YouTube. Thank you for watching and goodbye.